Okay, welcome to the May 7th, 2018 meeting of the Planning Commission for the City of Pacifica. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Rubenstein,
Here.
Commissioner Stedjink,
Here.
Vice Chair Clifford,
Present.
Chair Campbell,
Here.
Commissioner Gordon,
Here.
Commissioner Kraske,
Here.
Commissioner Niblin.
Here.
All right, let's have a salute to the flag, and Commissioner Stedjik.
I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Stedjik. Let's have the approval of the order of agenda. All right, Commissioner Gordon.
I'll move that we approve the order of agenda.
Okay, Commissioner Kraske. Or, is that you? Yeah.
Yeah.
You second it. All right, let's have a vote.
Figure out where my buttons are.
And that passes unanimously. And moving on to the approval of the minutes for April 2nd and April 16th, we'll take each one in turn. Approval of the minutes for April 2nd, 2018. All right, Commissioner Neblin.
I'll move approval of those minutes.
Thank you. Commissioner Gordon.
I'll second.
All right, we've had a motion and a second. Please vote. And that passes unanimously. And approval of the minutes for April 16th, 2018. Commissioner Gordon. Or is that you? That's you. You're on 4. It'll take me a second to get the hang of this. I keep Commissioner Clifford.
I move to approve the minutes of April 16th.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Neblin.
I'll second that motion.
Had a motion and a second. Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Moving on to the designation of liaison for the City Council meeting of May 14th, 2018. It's the Fassler call-up and the annual report to council.
I have already agreed to be the commission liaison for the 801 Fassler.
Thank you. All right. So we have that designation. And I think that's all we need.
Yeah, apologies, Chair. We were trying to work through an issue with the voting machine, so thank you for resolving the 801 Fassler call-up liaison with Vice Chair Clifford. Annual report to City Council, I will reserve that communication for staff communications.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now moving on to oral communications. This portion of the agenda is available to the public to address the Planning Commission on any issue within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission that is not on the agenda tonight. The time allowed for any speaker will be 3 minutes. If there's anyone out there, I don't see any cards up here, so it looks like we'll close that portion of the night. We don't have any consent items tonight, so we're just moving on to a consideration item, which is the review of the 2018 to 2023 capital improvement program for consistency with the general plan and local coastal land use plan. The recommended CEQA action is exempt under CEQA guidelines. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am Assistant Planner, excuse me, Bonnie O'Connor. Each year, the City Council is asked to adopt a 5-year capital improvement program, or CIP, which comprises the known capital projects on the horizon. The Planning Commission's role in the CIP adoption is determining the project's consistency with the city's general plan and local coastal land use plan. The Planning Commission's role does not extend to project priorities or funding. In the 2018-2023 CIP before you this evening, a majority of the projects have been carried over from previous years, which were previously found to be consistent with the general plan and local coastal land use plan. The Planning Commission will need to make this finding for the new 17 projects detailed in the staff report. The staff report summarizes the new projects for the Planning Commission and provides language from the general plan or local coastal land use plan as appropriate to justify the consistency of the projects. Before the meeting, a change was made to the location and project title of the new project on CIP page 22-21. The project title changed from PBNR/planning building improvements to various municipal building repairs. The location changed from PBNR and planning admin offices to various municipal buildings citywide. The project description of the project stayed the same, therefore the general plan consistency finding detailed in the staff report would still be applicable. Various staff is present tonight to help answer any questions regarding the projects. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the attached resolution finding that the 2018-2023 capital improvement program is consistent with the general plan and local coastal land use plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before we go on to questions for staff, who's present tonight to answer questions?
We have Senior Engineer Ray Donginas. We also have Associate Engineer Ryan Marquez. We have PBNR Director Mike Perez. We have Police Chief Chief Steidel. And we have Wastewater Assistant Superintendent Maria Aguilar. Put me on the spot.
Come on, so close.
All right, thank you. There's just a lot of new people up here, so getting the cast of characters right. All right, questions for staff? Commissioner Clifford.
All right, I had one question and a couple of comments, and I can save the comments for later. On page 35-1, and I'm not, let's see, who did this come out of? Okay, it came out of Department of Public Works, so I guess the question's for Ray. You've got a door replacement for $30,000, and it's going to take 2 years on the bathrooms down at Lindemar Beach. I'm just astounded at the amount of money and the length of time that it's going to take to replace a few doors.
Yes, Commissioner Raymond Dungeness, Senior Civil Engineer. Yeah, we've started this project several years ago. We just haven't gotten the funding for it, and I guess this year Council has approved the funding for this project. That's why the length of time. The $30,000 is due to the fact that the doors are stainless steel, and they have the magnetic mechanism that allows us to put the doors on timers.
Thank you very much for that. I was just really puzzled by both the numbers and the time for doors. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Stegnick.
Yeah, right. Completely independently, I took a look at that page on the Anza bathrooms, and I just saw that number just seemed very high. How many doors are there?
I think there's 4 total at the Anza, and there might be 2 at the Lindemar Pump Station, I think. Yeah.
So we're essentially paying $5,000 per door there?
That is the estimate, but it could be lower depending. The high cost is due to, construction is being high right now, and also the Department of Industrial Relations cost for public contracts, and also city having to do with prevailing wages.
It's the stalls and the stall dividers and the door frames and everything, right? And the sinks and every stuff too, or just?
No, just the doors, the stainless steel doors.
Did we get competitive bids on that, just out of curiosity?
Of course, yes. Any public over a certain amount, we do minimize minimum of 3 bids or quote as advertised.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more questions for staff. I don't see any cards up here for public comment, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to bring it back to consideration for staff. Clifford.
All right, now we get to my comment stage. One, the overall report is just fine, and I don't see any particular problems with it in terms of the general plan. But I do want to comment on the graphs that are set up on page 8 through, I think, 18. They're too small. They're very difficult to read. Yeah, we really need something a little easier to look at, maybe a fold-out page or something, for each one, so that they're bigger and we can actually see the numbers and follow across the lines without having to get a ruler out. And then another thing I noticed when I was going through is that you have the capital cost outlays. On some pages, you've got them in just thousands of dollars. You've got, 30,000 or 3,846,000. But there are other places where you have decimal points, and then you've got it down to as much as $30 figured in. And I would like to make sure that it was consistent all the way through. And I think probably just the thousands is probably sufficient, rather than throwing in a decimal point every once in a while. And, I looked at the decimal point, and I was thinking dollars and cents. I was thinking it was, 600 and something dollars and 3 cents. So I would like to see consistency in that particular line item. Okay? Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Stegnick.
I'm looking through there, looking on the trails and trying to correlate which one is any planning for the California Coastal Trail there. Sorry, the coastal trail going from Oregon to Mexico there. Is that the 12-4 San Pedro Headlands Multipurpose Trail at $5.75 million? Packet page 12-4.
That is the San Pedro Headlands Trail. That is the one behind Ace Hardware from basically San Pedro Terrace Road, and will eventually connect to the trailhead at the Caltrans Devil's Slide Tunnel.
At Tom Lantos Tunnels?
Excuse me?
At Tom Lantos Tunnels?
Yes, yes.
So
yes,
that is the Oregon Coastal Trail? Thank you. Commissioner
Gordon.
Thank you, Chair. First, I want to thank the police chief, the PB&R director, and Ray and folks from the wastewater treatment plant who came out tonight. Appreciate your time. The scope of our review is limited to whether the CIP is consistent with the general plan and the local coastal land use plan, and I think it is, and I'm prepared to make a motion unless there's more comments.
I don't see any more comments.
Then I will move that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution included in Attachment A, finding that the proposed 2018 to 2023 capital improvement program is consistent with the general plan and the local coastal land use plan.
Commissioner
As amended, is that correct?
Totally as amended, right? You read my mind.
Thank you, Council. Commissioner Neblin.
I'll second that motion, thank you.
All right, we've had a motion and a second. Please vote. Unanimous approval. Great.
And Chair, if we could just confirm Commissioner Rubenstein's vote. They're still having problems with the voting machine.
Yeah, maybe the light bulb's out.
And so that's a yes vote?
Oh, yeah. Unanimous amongst the lights that I saw. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, going on to communications. I forget, is it staff or? Commission communications. Anyone? Commissioner Stegnick.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. The first one's on the Wednesday cannabis license lottery. What time does that start, and do we know what form that's going to take and where?
It starts at 4 p.m. It's at the community center in the auditorium at the front of the building. And we will be using a bingo machine that will already be set up for the weekly senior bingo event. And we'll just be sliding in once that's concluded and conduct the marijuana use permit lottery.
Excellent. Will any seniors be receiving a marijuana license as a prize?
There's always a chance.
What's the date for that? Sorry.
That is on Wednesday, May 9th.
We're one of the few that's doing recreational and manufacturing on the coast. Have we alerted the media, or is there any sort of press release we're going to do on this, or are we sliding under the radar, or what are we doing here?
We've notified the applicants and anybody else that's contacted the city, and it's also on the city's cannabis business permit webpage.
So there's no media press release or anything?
We have not released a press release.
And how many applicants do we currently have?
We have 12 valid applications by, I don't have the figure, but some number fewer of individual applicants. So one applicant has, I believe, 4 active applications. So
5 probably, or 9?
8.
8, got it.
Is that,
9 applicants, 8 individual and 1 with multiple applications.
is that for 8 separate facilities?
At least one of the facilities has 2 applications, and one applicant has 4 unique locations, and so there's a little bit of overlap in some of the applicants and/or application sites.
I've got a couple questions just on the shopping center master plans and how they work. Under what circumstance would any of the shopping center stuff come under planning commissioner purview?
So the concept of a shopping center master plan, if I understand your question correctly, is some sort of master menu or list of uses that could be approved up front so that future business owners would not have to individually come through the planning commission. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the city does not actually have something of that name. We do in the PD zone, the plan development zone, have something called a development plan, which at the time of development would be approved, and that would sort of serve as that master plan for the shopping center, identifying which uses are permissible. Outside of the PD zone and the typical C1 or C2 zoning districts, there is something we can call a master use permit, if you will. It's not a master plan, but a shopping center owner could obtain approval of a single use permit with a whole menu of different otherwise conditional uses and do it all up front at one time. So the commission would have it upon the request of the property owner, would have jurisdiction over that application.
And when something doesn't come to the PC review, who does it go to for purview?
Well, it would either typically be a ministerial act by the staff determining whether or not it's permitted under the basic zoning or some other use permit, whether an individual or a quote-unquote master use permit. If it's not accounted for in either the base zoning or in another use permit, then the applicant would have to file an application, and then it would come before the planning commission.
I'm thinking of the size of the sign at the grocery outlet, and I know that was non-conforming. Who would that get approved by?
I don't have the particulars of that, but I am imagining it was likely a ministerial permit approved by staff as part of the building permit process.
Great. And how old are most of these PD areas?
If you're asking with respect to shopping centers, I believe there's only one shopping center in the PD zoning district, and that's the Fairmont Shopping Center. I don't have the exact age of the center itself, but I believe it's of the vintage perhaps mid to late 1960s. And the PD zoning that we have today took effect sometime after that.
Thanks. In something like say someone up in Fairmont, let's say someone with an active plan that wasn't coming before the PCs said, I want to build a building 45 feet tall at this mall or whatever. What would prevent them from doing that?
Well, if I understand the project correctly, to build a new structure that's 45 feet tall, the PD zoning has the first part, which I explained, the development plan, which sets the uses, like customized zoning for the site. The second part of the PD zoning is called the specific plan, not to be confused with a specific plan in California planning law, which is very different, but think of it as a site plan or an architectural review plan. That is a requirement of the PD zoning, such that any new construction is first verified for consistency with the development plan, and then subject to planning commission review for the site design. So that the PD zoning would prevent, would require the planning commission to review and approve that.
So I saw in the, I'm going to take one step back. I saw the Beach Boulevard seawall had a projected value of $25 million. Is that our current estimate on that project?
I'm not prepared to speak on the cost of the Beach Boulevard replacement. That's a better question for the Public Works Director, and I can relay that to him.
Great. My last question is related to the Library Advisory Committee, and probably Tom Clifford. I see at the last month that the Library Advisory Committee voted on designs for the new library, and I'm just curious if any of those designs will come in front of the Planning Commission.
Well, I can give you something of an answer. What we did was we voted not on any specific plan, but we looked at several plans, and we selected some that we liked better than others for whatever reason. But we're not choosing the plan specifically to put in front of the city council or the public. We're going, we're narrowing it down to some choices. We're not making a specific selection. And ultimately, yes, the Planning Commission will get to weigh in on that when it's brought before the Planning Commission.
And if I could just add to Vice Chair Clifford's comments, I don't have the date handy, I apologize, but the Planning Director is intending to schedule a library update for the Planning Commission in the near future, and so some more detail on the process will be forthcoming.
Thanks, Tom and Clifford. Tom and Christian.
Thank you. Commissioner Clifford.
My question is about these wonderful devices sitting in front of us, and when will they be turned on?
I have no idea. I will find out for you. It's the
Thank
first
you.
I knew about them here.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Gordon.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted the other commissioners to know that I received a letter from a longtime resident of Pacifica a couple days ago, and she was complaining about several properties in her neighborhood that have been converted to short-term vacation rentals, and the impact that had on her neighborhood in terms of increased noise, traffic, parking, garbage, et cetera, and was concerned about the problem. I know that issue has come before us and is either came before City Council or is going.
It will be at an upcoming meeting, yes.
Okay. So it was only addressed to who was it addressed to? I forwarded the letter I handed the letter to Christian before the meeting, and he's going to make a copy of it.
Yeah, the letter was addressed to Sherman Frederick of the Pacifica Tribune with CC to Jane Northrup, also of the Tribune, Lorenzo Hines, our Assistant City Manager, you, Commissioner Gordon, and James Manazan, the Pacifica Chamber of Commerce President, I believe.
Thank you. So I don't know why it was only addressed to me and not to the others, probably because of my special qualities. Indeed. But in any event, there was no addresses listed in terms of the properties that were sounded like they were causing disruption to the neighborhood. But I intend to follow up with the resident and see if I can find out some addresses so I can follow. And I do intend to follow up.
Commissioner Stagnick.
At the last meeting, we had Chamber CEO Jamie Monazan said she had a list of 305 STRs that were active in the Pacifica area, short-term rentals. Did she ever submit that list of 355 short-term rentals? Do you know?
She's not submitted it to me or to the Planning Director. We reached out to other staff to inquire if it may have been sent to them, and we haven't heard back yet.
I don't know the accuracy of that list or that number, but if you take 335 short-term rentals at the 21 Elements average costs there that they listed in their 2015 report, $83 a night, 108 nights a year, and 12% tot, that's about $361,000 a year that we're currently missing. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more commission communications. Staff?
Thank you, Chair. So in addition to the 801 Fassler call-up, for which Vice Chair Clifford has been designated as the liaison, on the May 14th City Council meeting, the annual reports for all of the city's commissions and committees will be presented. The meeting will start at 5:45 p.m., and the Planning Commission is teed up to be first on the list. And so we are hoping that all of the commissioners can attend. It would be great to have a unified presence there. And Chair Campbell, it's customary for the chair to present, and so we'll be in touch as staff to coordinate those details if you're available, please.
I am available. Sounds good. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Well, we've come to that time. Motion for adjournment. Commissioner Neblin.
I move to adjourn.
Commissioner Gordon.
Second that motion.
We've had a motion and a second. Please vote.
Yes.
To stay?
And
Great.
I see lights. Unanimous. Pretty sure. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.